there's only one thing that makes you break free from fear, which is to find a way and wake up from that dream. When I look at my worries I had in the last month, for sure 90% of all the worries just didn't happen in the first place. 10% might somehow came true, but then again I asked myself, good, so the 10% that came true, even though I had the worries, what could I do about it? Coming to the conclusion, nothing. And then something just really started to shift inside of me, where I literally let go of something. Let go of this idea that everything is like one directional, that everything that you're gonna encounter in this lifetime is gonna be beautiful. Everything in this lifetime is gonna be peaceful. Everybody you're gonna meet along your journey is gonna be well-hearted towards you. No, it's not. Because in the moment where you have well-hearted people, you have ill-willed people. And in the moment where there is success, where you want to be part of the success story, you're gonna be part of the failing story. And in the moment where you want to be part of the light story, you're gonna be part of the dark story. This is how it is. This is the world of what we call the world of yin and yang. This is the world of birth and death, of aging and sickness. I do think it is a blessing being able to just experience. It's a blessing that we have been granted the possibility of simply experiencing what this existence is capable of creating, including everything, including the joy, including the happiness, including the tears, including the heartbreaks, all of this, without the separation, whether you prefer one area or not. Sometimes the one goes with the other. But the purpose, in a way, is just be and experience. The only thing that happens, and which is a big part nowadays, is if you take your current existence too serious. If you completely base your identity, your being, on what you think you are. It's just a picture right now. Just sometimes make it very simple. Jump out of yourself and be the director. Be the director of this avatar. And then it just opens another perspective. Because in that moment, you just realize it's like a movie. Not everything is always positive, but in the moment where there are times of struggle, still not being caught inside your own creation, identity, illusion of the self, different expressions for that. It's a very helpful way of thinking, let's put it like this. I can feel how my old patterns sometimes are still trying to sneak in. What to do to break patterns? Number one, you need to see you have one. And number two, you need to replace old patterns, which ultimately mean patterns, it's habitual behavior, it's habits. How do you build habits? By continuous behavioral patterns that you continuously do. So there is something about consistency and continuity that ultimately builds a pattern. Consistency of having a training regimen every day. You know, it's not helpful to like 6 days per week do nothing and then you go one day to the gym and give your everything. No. It's better you have some type of consistency throughout the whole day. This is what builds patterns, healthy patterns. Yeah. Similar like this. What is somebody supposed to do? Number one, look at yourself and see yourself. We are all not perfect, but according to the circumstances that you are facing right now today, what type of character do you think? With what do you want to equip your character? That he is able to go through this current times in the best possible manner. What is not useful for you anymore, try to get rid of it and get your new skills in. There were times I could simply be surrounded with thousands of people, but still feel lonely. It's not what you're surrounded with. It's with what you are connected. And there I felt like there is always, again, this type of force. What is it that drives you on? Going outwards, going outwards, going outwards, you lose yourself. But this self is the only thing that can give you connection in this life. I do believe that we all have a source. There is a source. Whether you call that source is the universe, whether you call the source it is the God, whether this source is the infinite energy, I don't know. There's so many different expressions to it. But when I look at all these teachings, all are always pointing at one and the same thing. Let's just take the expression of yin and yang, the symbol everybody knows in the world. And there is that nice saying, yin and yang have a mother. The mother sometimes simply being illustrated as one circle. So yin and yang as the expression from duality, polarity, existence of number two. And where do two come from? They must come from one. So simple like in our way, you are there, I am here, one, two, where do we come from? There must be something that we have as a common denominator. And this source is the only thing that can connect us. Because it's not your family, it's not my family, they're still different. That is not enough. Going just looking at we are humans, animals same. Whatever and whoever gave us the possibility to be here is the same who gave you the permission, it is the same who gave me the permission and the blessing. This is the level of mind. This is the level of connection that never leaves you lonely. Your best friend or your best girlfriend gonna ask you, so how was this conversation? And even though that we are maybe just talking 3 hours, 4 hours, even if you spend 2 days long explaining to your best friend how this conversation was, it's not the truth. It is not the truth. How is this conversation? How is this conversation? Even right now, we cannot even speak about it. I tell you how this conversation right now really is. Yes? How you want to describe this? You will be the only one ever knowing how this is. It doesn't matter who's going to ask you afterwards, what you're going to tell them. You want to feel it? You need to experience it. There is no other way. And this is the nature of words. This is why these ancient stories come. For example, one master and his student walk up on a mountain early in the morning, then the sun rises up, and then the student says, "Oh master, what a beautiful sunrise." And then like the master slaps him and never takes him to a walk anymore. Then you say, why was the teacher so hard to him? Because in the moment where you give something that you experience, a word, you limit its nature. You naturally limit its nature. How does this now translate into what we can do with this knowledge? Whatever is being dense and it's limiting, I don't think it's the way. I think everything for us to practice is look beyond limitations. Look beyond the words. Look beyond the shape. Practice to look beyond the superficiality of things. Because this is where the meaning lies, or this is where part of the realization lies. Yeah, you don't need to go anywhere. The only thing you need to do is take a moment, contemplate about yourself, go into yourself and find the answers there, and then decide for yourself which part and what type of contribution would you like to give to the world that you're living in. I ultimately think this is what I'm doing. I would say it's diversity and choice. This world is filled with so much choice, meanwhile, that it's difficult in a way to take a decision which direction to go, what is right to do, what is not right to do. But ultimately, it's only yourself who knows the answer, which means it comes to the essential point: learn more about yourself. This is where it starts. Because if you have the wrong perspective of who you are, what you are, everything else in this lifetime you base your decisions on is just not going to be placed in the right direction.
We are not the body and we are not the mind. This is one of these sayings. Now, we are not the body, we are not the mind. It's not easily understandable in the society that we are living right now, where everybody actually is identified so much with the creation of this and the creation of the identity that you want to express in this world. But let's go into some type of thinking experiment. If literally what I refer to as I, if I would be my body, I would simply take the decision right now, body, just stop aging. I don't want you to age anymore. I don't want you to feel pain. I don't want my body to tell me that I'm hungry right now. Just stop the hunger. So raising this question, I feel like I cannot tell my body what to do, literally. This body somehow has his own cycle and his own intelligence that my body is going through. Okay, this is now the body. Literally, it is impossible to predict what is going to be the next thought that's going to pop up in my mind. But if I would be my mind, how come I cannot have an influence in what I am thinking next? Mind and body, both of them apparently have another own cycle of what they are following. What's the conclusion? The conclusion is that nevertheless, body and mind that we carry along this lifetime right now can be and are conditioned. They carry some type of information. Simply said, I didn't choose literally to have this nose on my face. I didn't choose my eye color. I didn't choose the features that I carry in this lifetime right now. So there is information that is being transferred from generations in the past that in a way represent themselves right now in the body that we carry. You might call it is embedded in the DNA, or it is embedded in any type of biological or physical information. If this is staying true right now for the body, could it also be that everything that pops up in our mind also carries some information that has been passed on prior for us being even conscious about it? And the answer for me is definitely, I do think it is like this, that modern science, if people relate to this more, for example, opens the field of epigenetics. And taking all of this into consideration right now, it still means, okay, but what literally is then the I? If I am not the body, if I'm not the mind, what is the I? And this is the essential question that Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, and many mystic cultures are trying to figure out. This is where when you go on YouTube and you just put in who am I, what am I, where do I come from, you find plenty of that stuff. Okay. It's a very, very interesting question, because this answer of what is it that you are identifying yourself with also gives you the answer, how do I reduce the suffering of this lifetime? That is essentially what all of this is about. How so? If I could live a life full of pleasure, full of enjoyable moments, no pain, no suffering, I would wish for eternal life for sure, because it is the greatest thing that actually can happen to you. You're spending this life on earth, and the only thing that you have is a pleasant life. What more do you want? But the reality is not like that. The reality is we have pleasant moments, we have joyful moments, we have healthy moments, we have enriching moments, but at the same time, we're also facing something where we could absolutely live without it if we would have the choice. The fact of losing people, the fact of being betrayed, being judged, being insulted, being discriminated, being hurt, many ways that do not feel pleasant. And there is the question, isn't there a way how to find a proper perspective upon life to understand what is it that I am embedded in order to still try my best and reduce the amount of unpleasant or suffering? This is the whole idea about it. Also meaning, if somebody is watching this episode and he's just happy, he has a perfect life, he is happy, there is nothing he's asking for, he's simply fulfilled, there is really no reason to continue listen to this conversation. But I do think that either it hasn't been like this all the time, that person first of all went through some type of development or process, or the winning streak is going to end at some point. Nowadays, if you want to calm your mind, the first practice that is being recommended to you is like meditation practices, most probably, yes. You know, if you come, for example, to any type of retreat place, to a temple, to a secluded place, somewhere in the nature, somewhere in the forest, and you spend some time there, and by nature already, let's say, it's very calm, the surrounding is very calm. It definitely helps for you to calm your mind and to start developing how does it feel to be peaceful. But the reality at the same time is also that from all the people living nowadays in this world, the majority of all of us will never be able to even spend any time at such secluded places. Their reality takes place in the cities, takes place at work, takes place in partially the modern world that is very fast-paced and crowded, let's say. But it's exactly in these places where this peace and this calm would be the most beneficial. Because if anyway in the forest nothing is going on, you don't necessarily need to practice too much to be peaceful and calm. It is in the moment where you have so much external stimuli that are triggering you. This is then the moment in order to really bring out the quality of your meditative practices.
Now, one of the first things is to really try as often as you can to remind yourself and put yourself in that proper state of what you think you are. I wake up and try to not already have any type of thought from yesterday in my mind. I try to wake up empty. Also, try to at all moments immerse myself as much as I can in the present moment. That's what it is. Live in the here and now. How you do this? To live in the here and now. Stop jumping into the past and stop jumping into the future. Then you live in the here and now. But you must practice it. And literally meaning how you do it, make yourself empty. Because the only thing that fills your mind with past and future is your thoughts. The mind. In the moment where you just on a regular basis put yourself consciously and willingly in different situations and circumstances that actually represent a little bit the structures of life. There are moments in this lifetime where you are going to be super tense. And then it's good to know already how does it feel and what is it that you can do. Well, to learn and release the tension. That's why releasing tension is also a big part of the exercises. The one thing is learning to release tension. The other thing is like when you are too sloppy, when you're too slacky, how to increase your tension, how to increase the energy level again for you to get back into structure again. There's always this balance, and ultimately, how does it help people to know the hard stuff? Well, because I do think that it is symbolizing this way of life. It is symbolizing the patterns of what you are going to go through in this lifetime. Why do we have these virtues in the first place? And again, it's like in Star Wars. The Force, what you're learning, the cultivation of energy, the skills that you are learning, these are very, very powerful things. Yeah? But what makes the difference between somebody possessing this power and using it for the sake of humanity or somebody using it for the not betterment of humanity? It's the character. The power is the same. It's the character. It's the carrier of the power. It's the one who's responsible to hold this power, to maintain this power. That one must be trained as well. And this is where the virtues hit in. The virtues are building the framework of the character, of the avatar, ultimately, that is then receiving all different types of training, skill training, that at least in the Shaolin tradition, we would say, is good to know them.
There is energy locked inside of you that wants to be expressed, but you suppress it. And this is why it has to find a way to make itself heard. Maybe people take it as normal to live a life and keep regret and keep frustration and keep all these things inside of them and not heal it, not let it out, not express it, not learn a way to get rid of it. But at the same time, I also believe this is the reason why people suffer from so many different types of diseases at the same time. If your life is fine, then most probably you also don't have questions. But I do believe either the longer you live this life, or the more you start observing the patterns of this life, at some point, questions will come up. And if a person doesn't ask the question, he also cannot receive the answer. I would consider myself also belonging to the category of like achieving and doing and being a workaholic and controlling things and overachieving. But at some point, after achieving many of these different areas, I still was left there with the question, was that it? Was that now the sense of my life? I felt like it was like not enough. I was missing out on something because it was just too simple. It was too shallow for me. I couldn't imagine that like attaining degrees or attaining whatever you like material-wise are looking for, that this is going to be the purpose of your life. So going to work every day in order just to buy something that eventually you come to the conclusion you won't take it with you anyway. We came without it and we're going to go without it. So what is literally the sense of all of this? I do think it is a personal journey, but slowly I start to understand just more and more things by just observing what I'm all the time surrounded with. And what is it? It is pattern. On the one side, everybody, what is it we truly feel like wanting? Freedom, not being restricted. I want to be free. Freedom on the one side, but then what is it that is not granting you freedom? The opposite, I would say, it is structure and pattern. Because if there is a structure, if there is a pattern, it means you do not have the freedom to decide what you want to do. So it sounds like at the moment that freedom is on the one side and pattern and structure is on the other side. Now the fact is like this, like I just said before in regards to the body and in regards to the mind. Our body already is following a certain pattern, own biological pattern. Our mind and therefore also our behavior is following certain patterns. Talking about this pattern also meaning, just look at a very simple pattern that also appears in all of our lives and probably in the lives of our children. There comes the point they start to want something. It could have been at some point we wanted to have the first mobile phone that came out at the time where mobile phones are just not existing yet. And so the first Nokia came out, we wanted to have it. After some time, we got it. But then came the next development, the smartphone. We wanted to have it and we got it. And no matter what it is, there is always something that we want. We're gonna get it if we work hard enough for it. But then something always the same starts to hit in. Whatever was there that you wanted, at some point, after a day, after a week, after a month, it was forgotten. It didn't play a role even anymore in your life, especially if it is some type of material attainment. So the question is, should I spend my whole life now just following this pattern? Working for something that I put in my mind that I want, achieving it, and then realizing at some point, lifetime is gone, and the pleasure and the enjoyment of what I try to attain there actually isn't also really sustainable. And already this type of pattern, to observe it, can break a cycle. It can break the cycle of you or anyone running after things unconsciously because you are caught inside a pattern which at some point is just very, very senseless. When you yourself are caught in the pattern and you are being identified by this pattern, you cannot escape it. If you are identified with this pattern, you cannot escape it. So this is now where it helps this ancient saying before, you are not the body and you are not the mind. So even if you just take this as a concept right now, then it means from time to time, try to just, let's say, jump out of yourself and just observe yourself. Just imagine it is a movie. This is the movie character. And I'm jumping out and I'm watching the movie of this one. And from this perspective, suddenly, I see something differently. I can see it from a wider perspective because I'm not caught inside my own patterns anymore, but suddenly I begin to see the patterns of this character. Whether you believe in this now or not, it's just about a mind experiment. Just use it as a game if you like. Just go out and watch yourself. Watch your life unfolding. And then this is the beginning where you actually see patterns, where you see behavior that is repeating. Well, some patterns are useful, some patterns are not useful. And step by step, so number one is becoming aware, first of all. What type of patterns are you able to realize and see inside your own life? I think this is where it starts. The awareness and ability to observe yourself. And there you see the awareness to observe yourself, awareness, mindfulness, and be conscious about yourself. This is why meditation practice, for what? To become more aware. Mindfulness practices, why? To become mindful, to become conscious, because this is the beginning in order to break the cycle of this conditioned being, of the conditioned identity. People may be also confused. I'm saying don't have goals and don't work for something you really wish for. I didn't say that, because I still do it. I do have visions and I do have wishes sometimes. But those are very conscious wishes meanwhile. So literally, when my mind is flooded with so many possibilities, I just have become more conscious in really deciding in what do I really want to invest my lifetime. Is it worth it to attain it that I'm working for right now? And if I still come to the conclusion, yes, even though this lifetime is limited, but to experience whatever it is, yes, it's worth it, I'm gonna go for it. Well, then do it. The only thing I try to really prevent people from doing is unconsciously following structures and patterns and cycles in the imagination. It's going to give them something that they are longing for, but it won't. Why would I in the first place go into action at all? So why would I go into doing something? Because apparently something is lacking. Why would I set a goal? Because I assume that when I reach the goal, it's going to give me something that in the moment where I'm setting the goal, I don't have. So this is why doing or going into action or achieving something comes into play. Why would I need to achieve something if in this very moment I don't feel like I'm missing anything, that there needs something to be achieved? So this is where on the one side we have this area of doing, achieving, going into action. And the other part is everything is good as it is. There is nothing to achieve. I am self-fulfilled. I'm self-satisfied. I am being. So we have being and we have doing. And this is for me literally, how do I find this balance between being and doing? Because now, of course, some people say, yeah, if all the time I would be just satisfied with being, well, then nothing would be done in this world in a way. Nothing would happen. So how do I feed my children? How do I pay my bills? So, of course, it is not realistic to just stay in this state of being. But at the same time, if you constantly doing and go into action, the result of this is what we described before. You run after things, you achieve it. But instead of even holding on a moment and enjoy your achievement, be proud of you, of what you have achieved. Remain a moment in this feeling of, yes, it feels good. The problem is that we already put the next goal and start running again. So one is just leading to the fact of you never stand still. You don't find your peace. There is no peace. And the other thing is you have peace, but you have no progress. And this is something that we as humans, it's very natural to balance out exactly those two areas and be very aware. You are not supposed to do nothing, but you are also not supposed to run and run and run and never arrive. Both of them are like pointless. And I do think this is the balance. If I wished that I would have lived this life and I just have joyful and pleasant moments, no regret, no sorrow, no fear, nothing of that. The reality is not like that. The reality is that every human being at some point is facing all of this. But I used to think I would never arrive or be at the place where I am right now without all the things that happened in the past. Because at some point, the sorrow or even the regrets, they have been so painful in a way that I was left only with two choices. Number one, you learn from what went wrong. And number two is a very hard part. It's the part of learning to let go by forgiving. Forgiving two areas. In case somebody is involved, you forgive the one that is involved, but foremost, you forgive this one. We always think about how should we forgive like other people, which is already very hard, but it's even harder to sometimes forgive yourself. But you can't move into the future. You cannot move on if you still carry old baggage inside of you. And this is where I feel like it must be learned. Maybe people take it as normal to live a life and keep regret and keep frustration and keep all these things inside of them and not heal it, not let it out, not express it, not learn a way to get rid of it. Yeah, but at the same time, I also believe this is the reason why people suffer from so many different types of diseases at the same time. Because there is some type of, I call it now in my terminology, there is energy locked inside of you that wants to be expressed, yeah, but you suppress it. And this is why it has to find a way to make itself hurt, which can be a sickness, which can be cancer, which can be all type of mental diseases that nowadays I think this society has a lot of it. That is the letting go part.
Your attainment maximum is going to last 100 years. That is the other truth. I do believe people understand exactly what I said, but there comes the fight now again. The fight between this very strong identity that wants to just maintain itself and the other side of just forget about your identity. Be as you are, that's it. No matter what you're going to attain, you have it for 100 years afterward it's gone. So, just be. Don't stress yourself too much with what you don't have. Well, unfortunately, there are always three ways how you're going to learn this. Sometimes people just need to have the experience to realize, okay, I did it, I got it, now I realize I don't need it. But in the first place, you need to have it. First way of learning. Second way of learning, you do trust a certain teacher, you do trust a certain guide or a mentor. You just copy the way how he's living his life because you see, oh, apparently the person lives a good life, so you just copy. And the third way of learning is you maybe have like a teacher or a master, he tells you some wise words, you contemplate about it, you think about it, and because you are thinking about it, it already puts you on the alternative path without you needing to try it for yourself. And there will always be people in this world in these three categories. Because telling somebody, look, don't put your hand in the fire, and they're still going to do it. But later when they do it like 2 times, 3 times, then it's done. But that is also the lesson involved in this person's life. Every human being is at a different level of his development. Everybody at this moment in time is exactly where he needs to be for the next elevation to take place. The only thing you need to do is look at yourself right now and just find out, what is it that makes you unhappy? What exactly is it that at this moment in your life is binding you and restricting you from moving on? And this is the same question for everyone. What you ultimately need to tackle is different. In the past, I sometimes played Super Mario and Luigi. And it's the same. If you don't manage level number 1, you won't see level number 2. The challenges for number 2 won't come. First, you finish level 1. But once number 1 is finished, you won't face the same stuff anymore. And there is something along this line where it sometimes is like a game at the same time. Don't take it so serious. It helps. There is always the struggle between doing and being. Doing, I would ask, why are you doing? Why do you want to go into action? There is a goal. The goal, why do you have that goal? Because you're aiming at receiving something that in the moment where you have it, apparently you are lacking. This type of goal setting, I would automatically refer to it already, that your goal setting already comes from a space of lack. You feel like you're lacking something. That's why you need to do. You feel like you're lacking something. That's why you need to educate yourself. Okay? So this is the one direction. Now coming back, maybe sounds again too philosophical. Connected with the source. There's nothing to add and there's nothing to take away from you. So apparently, when somebody has this very, very high ambition of doing something, achieving something, then most likely the chances are there this is not coming from a connection to the source. It is coming from the idea of wanting to nourish or create an identity. An identity that represents something that you think you want to represent. This is the one area, the doing versus the being. The second thing is that ultimately goes hand in hand with this way of living your life. One thing is being forgotten along the line. The truth that whoever and whatever you are creating and are intending to create and are intending to gather now and starting to attain things. Your attainment maximum is going to last 100 years. That is the other truth. We come with nothing. We go with nothing. What does it mean? This universe is going to make sure that you're going to go with nothing. Which means at some point before it's time for you to go, you will be faced with the fact of learning the necessity of letting go of what you have attained in this lifetime. And if you have not understood that this is going to come, it's a very, very hard awakening. It's a very painful awakening. To have this realization that you have spent 70 years, 80 years following your goal, and now there is no other choice. You have to let go. It's not my invention. It's just my observation. If you have the possibility of attaining everything that you were speaking about, you are absolutely happy to do so. You can own everything. It's never about promoting to have this is not good. No, but to have attachment, at least in this type of tradition, will have consequence. So it's not about what is it that you possess. It's about what of these possessions are possessing you.